brew day. Brilliant. Okay, today I'm going to be doing a coconut ShyPA, as made famous by New to Homebrew, which is, I believe, his YouTube handle and probably his Twitter handle as well. So the recipe is exactly the same. I've added it to Beersmith so that I can print it off, so it's there publicly available if people want to have a look at the Beersmith recipe. So let's get this shit going. So we're going to go with 16 litres of strike water, which we're going to do up to this little white mark I've got here. You can see that, it's not very clear. I'm going to heat that up to a temperature of 75 degrees. So we're going to go up to 75 in order to be able to get a strike temperature of 66 to 68. Cool. Let's leave that heating up until that's ready. Okay, so strike water is up to temperature. It's just cut itself off. Once it gets down to 74, I'll set it to 1 degree offset, so once it gets to 74 it'll kick back in again. So I've added a couple of litres of water into the mash tun just to bring the temperature of the mash tun up a little bit so we don't end up too much of a drop. And I've weighed out all my grains. I made a little bit of a cock up. So the crystal malt that I ordered was, the EBCs were really high. So this recipe asks for a crystal malt that's got a low EBC. This one here had a EBC of 126. So I've made some adjustments on Beersmith and reduced my amount of crystal malt down to just 100 grams in order to maintain the nice light colour. I've increased the pale malt, the Maris Otter, to bring the gravity back up. So there's a slight adjustment, but you know, hey, that's what making beer is about. You know, you make adjustments in order to make a nice beer that you want to make. Okay. Okay, so it's finally time to start going in. So slowly start adding our grain, a little bit at a time. Next pump, as you can see, to my HOT in order to pump the water into my mash tun. So plug that in. So there we go. Mixing this water. Get rid of any of these rolls. Turn off the water for now and I'll concentrate on getting these nicely mixed. The temperature we got here, so you can see. So the temperature we're aiming for is about 66, 67 I'm hoping for, so can you see that? It's steaming up. Shaky hands. Bowl ball here, so we've got 65, 66, 67.5, coming up to 68, so it's cool. Good temperature. Cool, looking good. Let's pop the lid on. Put the lid on, set the timer for an hour, and we'll see you in a little while. Okay, so one thing I didn't mention earlier was that although I've gone out an hour for the mash, what I'm actually doing is halfway through the mash, I'm starting a recirculation. So as you can see here, this is my recirculation setup. So I have a pump coming out of the mash tun, which is down here. The pump comes out of the mash tun, goes into the top of the HLT, and the HLT has got a, I'll just lift this up and show you, got a coil inside it. So you've got the wort going into the top of the coil, running through the coil system, and then coming back out the other end, going over to my fly sparge, and then going back into the wort itself. I've got the ink bird set at a steady temperature of 68, so that I can, and I have the probe from the ink bird, oops, it's steamy, going into the wort, so I can try and maintain a steady temperature of 68. So I've only just started this recirculation, so you can see the temperature was around about 66, and I get it up to about 68 for half an hour. So you can see it's starting to climb up to 67 now. So let this go for another half an hour, and then once this is all finished, it'll be ready to get the runnings off and start the boil. Oh, of course, I'm going to fly sparge for a little bit as well. Cool. So, just pop back in. Bit of a bummer here, as you can see, that my mash tun has sprung a leak. It's no biggie, it's just a tiny little leak. Also took all of these bits apart recently to clean everything, so I've obviously not put it back together in the best way, so I need to take that apart afterwards and have a look and see what the problem is. As you can see, it's only a small amount that's leaking. Okay, it's gone all over my floor, but put it back into the mash, it's just not a problem. So, time to run off. As you can see, a beautiful coloured wort there. This is coming out of my mash tun. Fly sparging here with my pump coming out of my HLT, going back into the Hermes coil that I've got in my lid, just mainly to flush all of the wort out of the Hermes coil, and so that at the end of my brew day, the Hermes coil is all clean inside. That's currently set at 72 degrees, so I'm fly sparging at 72 degrees. You can see I've got a nice gentle sparge there, although compared to how slow I'm running off, it's actually a little bit too vicious, and every so often I'm having to turn off the pump just so that I don't have a massive load of water sat at the top. But currently, yeah, looking good. The leak stopped, so I think it's something to do with the pump adding too much pressure to the fitting, so I'll have a look at that afterwards. But yeah, all looking good. So once I've got this bit done, once we've got a nice container full of wort, get the boil on the go. Okay, hot break is just about starting to kick in. As you can see, starting to bubble away nicely here. As you can see, my setup is I've got a propane gas stove. Don't know why that was just set up that I bought a long time ago, and I've always stuck with it. Maybe I should move to electric at some point, but it works, so I'm happy. Still in my shed, which is a bit cluttered, but you know, this workspace needs clearing out a little bit, but it works. There we go, hot break is just about starting to kick off, so in a couple of minutes I'm going to stick in the first hop additions. On a side note, it's a beautiful sunny day here in England, absolutely lovely. A bit hot to be in a shed brewing beer over a gas stove, but hey, you know, they are the things we have to put up with in order to enjoy our hobby. So, sticking in the first hop additions here. You can see I like to use a hot bag. And we've got a nice hot break starting to kick off. So I'm just going to get my spoon, give that a stir so that hot bag absorbs all of that lovely water. But there we go, look at that hot break starting to kick off, lovely. So I'll come back in a little while when we get to flame out, and I need to put in a load more of hops and the toasted coconut as well. Okay, finally, after an hour of boiling, it's flame out time. So let's turn this bugger off. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Lovely. Okay, right, flame out. We've got to add our addition of 250 grams of shaved coconut. There's our shaved coconut, lovely looking stuff, tastes amazing. Going to just chuck that straight into the boil. Give that a stir. I don't know why I've been messing about with the hot bags, to be honest. Get those hot bags so that we don't get any hop in our wort. And there I am chucking in 250 grams of shredded coconut. So it's just loads of crap anyway. So I'm going to leave that for 5-10 minutes, and then I'm going to chuck in the wort chiller and start cooling this down. Okay, so we're cooling with the wort chiller. Normally I do this indoors actually, I do it over the kitchen sink, but this time I decided to do it in the garden because it's a beautiful day. So adding final hop addition, I can't remember what it is, it's on the recipe. Leave that to steep for 10 more minutes while this cools down to about 25-26 degrees. And I'll get ready to put in the fermenter and add the yeast. There's going to be a lot of trub in this one, there's so many bits in this. Even with my hop strainer in the bottom of the ton of the boil kettle, yeah, you can see there's going to be a lot of bits in this. Anyway, let's finish off getting this in the fermenter, and then I'll get the yeast in and whack it in the fermentation vessel. Look at all those bits of coconut, blimey. It's going to be interesting. There we are in the fermenter. You can look at that, it's a murky looking liquid. So it'll be really interesting to see what this is like. And I can't seem to get a head on it, so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this. So I'll sprinkle in this is a Safari 05. I'm going to whack the lid on, get that in the fermentation chamber. Alright, finally got it down into the fermentation chamber. Put a blow off tube just in case, always good to be cautious these days. Don't know, it'll be interesting to see what this one comes out like. Yeah, it's a very interesting brew. Lots of kind of sediment by the looks of it in the finished wort. And the weird thing was that normally when I would run off from the boil kettle into the fermenter, I'd get a nice frothy head that's produced at the end of it, whereas this one didn't produce a frothy head. It was very headless. So normally I'll pour, if it's a dry yeast, I'll pour the dry yeast over the top of a nice frothy head, and this time it just poured over the top of what looked very headless wort. So it would be very interesting to see what this is like in a couple of days once it starts bubbling away. So that's it for now. Back here in the fermenter again, that's the one stupid thing that I forgot to do. Once I finish the brew, let's take a gravity reading to make sure to see whether we hit our target gravity or not. So let's have a go at this. Okay, so here we are. So here it is. Look at that colour, it looks amazing. Here's a sanitised. So I'm aiming for a gravity of 1042 in order to hit the just over 4% that we need. So it looks like I've got a gravity here of 1047. So slightly higher than my target gravity than I needed, which means I'm going to have a slightly stronger beer than I wanted, which is a shame because I was actually aiming for, you know, the 4% mark in order to have, you know, a nice drinkable beer. So, you know, if I want to have a beer I can have 3 or 4 rather than being stuck with only having 2. But hey, so this may come out a little bit higher. So 1047, I'll do some calculations and try and work out what I'm going to come out at, but it's probably going to be about 4.6, something like that, not too much. Cool. Alright, so here we are, it's the next day, 10 o'clock in the morning, and let's have a little check up on this beauty. And as you can see, we've got some nice, so it looks like we've got some action going here. We've got air coming out of the fermentation bucket. Now I'm really interested because yesterday obviously I had trouble getting any kind of head off this, so I'm really interested to see what the Krausen's going to be like on this. So let's have a little look and just have a quick sneak peek to see if we've got much of a Krausen. Yeah, look at that little beauty, it's looking great. It's a bit of a flat Krausen, but hey, it doesn't matter. You know, it's early days yet, but at least we've got some good action going on. So, feeling positive about this coming out pretty good. Okay, so it's day 7. And I know the recipe says that on when there's 5 days left in the brew, to add the toasted coconut and the rest of the mosaic. I've decided that I'm going to do it on day 7. You know, it's a Sunday. I've got a bloody fruit fly in here. I'm going to get rid of that little bugger. Where is he? Get rid of it. Get out of here. Gotcha. Okay, he's dead. Anyway. Right, so yeah, I've got 7 days left of the fermentation. I've decided that today I'm going to add the toasted coconut and the mosaic. So I've cracked open the lid. Got some funky stuff going on here. Yeah, this is, yeah, I've never seen that much stuff. I mean, I've got to say that it was a pretty active fermentation. There was a lot of Krausen that formed on top. This looks like we've got bits of Krausen still floating on top. Never really seen actually like that much Krausen like that floating at such a, normally sinks once it gets to a certain level. Anyway, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to add I've got a bag, hot bag here with the mosaic. So that's a load of dried leaf mosaic. So I'm going to chuck that in. That should all start to soften up. Yep, and I don't know why I'm adding that in a hot bag, to be honest, because let's move that nice to the side so I can fit this lot in. I've got a, oops, that's the heater in the fermenter kicking in. I've got a saucepan here full of toasted coconut, so let's just chuck that straight in. It's going to be amazing. We're just going to get that all slopping around. Okay, so we got here, the temperature on the fermenter is set at 19.5. It's September here in England. It's a pretty shitty day out there. It's looking a bit wet on the ground. The temperature's dropped recently to about 15 degrees, so the heater should be kicking in, but hey. Okay, so we got our toasted coconut. Our mosaic's been chucked in there. I'm going to stick the lid back on. We're going to leave that for another 7 days to ferment out. And hopefully this time next Sunday, I should be kegging this beauty. So fingers crossed everything comes out okay. I'm just a bit worried about that lumpy krausen floating on the top, because I've not really seen that before, maybe once or twice, but I've never had a bad brew. Okay, so done the brew day. You've just seen the brew day, nice video of the brew day. Hopefully you enjoyed it. It's time for the taste test. Okay, so it's been in the keg for exactly 2 weeks now. Pretty pleased with it. It's got some really nice colour there. A nice bit of carbonation. There's a nice stream of bubbles coming out there. I don't know if you can see that. It's looking really nice. Really pleased with the level of carbonation I've got. So yeah, it's been sat in the keg for 2 weeks now. So let's dive in and see what it tastes like. So it's got a very light body. The initial smell that you get from the on the nose is it's got a very fruity smell, almost like a tropical squash drink or something like that. It's got the coconut in the background, which is making it smell even more tropical and making it smell more like a squash. Yeah. The flavour is it's got a very light body. This is, for a Maris Otter. I've done quite a few IPAs with Maris Otters, and the colour that we've got on here it's a very light kind of orangey yellow. Normally I find with IPAs done with Maris Otter, maybe it's the quantity of the Maris Otter that was used in this was quite low. This is quite a light kind of session style IPA. Normally you probably use more Maris Otter and get more of an orangey colour. Maybe it's oxidation and maybe the transfer to the cake was done really well and I managed to minimise the amount of oxygen that's got to the beer. And the flavour, yeah, it's a very light flavoured beer, very gentle flavour, got a slight fruitiness to it, probably from the hops. The aftertaste is a really nice kick of coconut. So it's a nice beer. Probably really nice in the summer. I've made this is September now, so it's probably the wrong time of year to make a beer like this. I can imagine this sat in the garden at the end of a long day, sit down with a pint glass of this. I can imagine it to be very refreshing. It's especially with that tropical kind of vibe to it. It'd be really nice at the end of a long, hard working day. Sitting in an office on a computer like I do, really hard work. But yeah, would I brew it again? Maybe. I may give it a go in the summer. I think I would probably add more hops to it. I think the small amount of hoppage that was used for the dry hop was not enough in my opinion. I can imagine this, if I don't drink this keg quickly, I can imagine the aroma disappearing quite quickly. So I'd probably at least double up on the hops. The coconut taste, Yeah, maybe I'd use a little bit more of the coconut. I'd probably increase the coconut. I used 250 grams on the in secondary. I would probably increase that to probably at least 400. I think it needs a little bit more of a coconut aftertaste. You know, it's too subtle. I think it needs to be a bit more in your face. I mean, that's the way I like my beers, to be a bit more punchy. And as for the body, I'd probably increase the grain bill just to give the body a little bit more depth. So all in all, you know, it's a nice beer. It's very, very drinkable. You know, give it a go. You know, the recipe's available on Beersmith now. You know, watch the videos that News of Homebrew's done. Tom, whatever his name is, and you know, watch my video if you want. But you know, he goes in much more better detail about how to brew this beer than I do, and it's done over a few videos rather than mine, which has been done over a one and a greater glass. But yeah, you know, I brew it again. Probably not. I probably want to go for something. I prefer to go for a more punchy IPA than this. If I did brew it again, I'd change the recipe slightly to something that I'd be a bit more happy with. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment, whatever you want to do. And who knows, I may have another one up for you soon. Bye.